This is Peter Zalewski. I'm a former journalist. I am a Wall Street consultant. I have a real estate license, and I am the founder of the Miami Condo Market Investing Club. The club is an organization that we created in 2024. The idea is to bring together individuals who are interested in condos. Everything that's out there right now is all focused on single family or multifamily. Nobody's catering to the condo market, and that's a space that dear to my heart. I've been writing about it and covering it basically since 1993 down here in the South Florida area. So as part of our objective of bringing information to the marketplace, what we're doing is a series of special reports related to the 2025 Condo Association Financial Cliff. And we're fortunate enough for this episode of the podcast to have a chief building engineer who's been playing the game for 30 years in South Florida. He's going to give us straight talk about what's really going on with some of these condos that are up and down the Florida coast. There's no one else but Carlos Villanueva. So on the other side of the break, Carlos and we're going to talk straight about what really is going on in some of those condo associations. Maybe you live in, or maybe you're thinking about investing in. So we'll catch up with you on the other side of the break.
This special report examining the repercussions of Florida's 2025 Condo Association Financial Cliff is a podcast series brought to you by the Miami Condo Market Investing Club trademark. Founded by Miami condo consultant and expert witness Peter Zalewski in 2024, the objective of the club is to build a community to share real-time, actionable information on the latest real estate trends and opportunities in the Tri-County South Florida region of Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. The club is ideally suited for do-it-yourself DIY condo buyers who can rely on our latest statistics, expert opinions, and access to consulting services. Club members are exclusively invited to attend virtual monthly meetings at noon on the second Wednesday of every month. The club also offers regular meetup events in person for members to network and talk shop with real estate investors, professional service providers, and suppliers. To find out more, please visit peterzalewski.substack.com. Additionally, we encourage you to listen or view our Miami Real Estate Investing podcast wherever you get podcasts. The podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, and/or YouTube.
This is Peter Zalewski. I'm a former journalist. I am a Wall Street consultant. I'm an expert witness, and I also have a real estate license. I'm the founder of the Miami Condo Market Investing Club. The objective of the club is to try to bring information to the market in terms of what's really going on. So if you are looking to do it yourself, you're a DIYer, or maybe you're a realtor, maybe you're in the condo game, somehow, some way you're looking for market moving type of intelligence, consider checking out the club and joining the club. So one of our objectives of the club is trying to bring information to the marketplace. We're fortunate enough, as part of our special report series on the 2025 Florida Condo Association Financial Cliff, we have a chief building engineer, a gentleman who's got 30 years experience. He's worked in a variety of different facilities, high-rise related. He's done work with Swire, Atlantic Pacific. He's also been over at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino. No one else but Carlos Villanueva. He has a consultancy. So if you're looking for maybe you're a condo board, or maybe you're somebody who wants to get some insight as to what's really going on, I'd encourage you to check out Carlos's company. It's called CY Consulting. And if you want to look him up online, CSEEY, like why is this happening? Consultingllc.com. So that's a long way of saying, Carlos, how's it going?
Hey, Peter, thank you. I'm honored to be on your show.
Carlos, we're gonna have some fun today. We are an unauthorized podcast, so we're not in the tank for the real estate industry. We basically want to be straight talk to anybody who's looking for kind of sort of facts. We're talking directly to the individuals who have the insight. And when I was looking for a chief building engineer, someone to give me straight talk, you're the name that I kept getting over and over and over. So I am fortunate to kind of have you on this podcast.
Let's get it going, Peter.
Let's get it going. Carlos, real quick, everybody out there is going to be like, who the hell is this guy? What does he know? Give us your short bio about yourself, just so they got some, so you got some street cred. I mentioned Swire Properties, which everybody knows is a Hong Kong-based organization. They did Brickell Key. They did Brickell City Center down here in Miami. I mentioned Atlantic Pacific. They do a lot with workforce housing, high-rises. Cushman & Wakefield, maybe I mentioned it, maybe I don't, as well as the Seminole Hard Rock Casino, which everybody knows. So why don't you tell people a little bit about your background?
Peter, my background is I was a firefighter in Tallahassee for several years. So I have a minor in fire life science, and then I also graduated from the University of Miami. I worked at the University of Miami as a facility campus manager, facility manager. I had 25 campus buildings that I was responsible for. And then my career's been pretty broad. Anything that has a roof on it, I've kind of been a part of it. You know, from retail to office buildings to hospitals to the casino. You know, you mentioned, you know, the diversity, and the way I look at it is, you know, a building is like an envelope, and really what changes is the end user and how the building is occupied. And, you know, whether you have an office building where people work 8 to 5, and then you have the cleaning crew there from 5 to 11, and nobody sleeps there at night, or a hotel where it's more of a transient type nature, or residential where it's people's homes, you know. And I think that where we're at now is the focus is on residential and condominiums. So my background really covers being a chief engineer, facility manager, in a wide gamut of properties. The titles change, but the responsibilities kind of always stay the same. You're in charge of maintenance, you're in charge of capital projects, you're in charge of the in-house staff, whether it be the facility engineers or the maintenance guys or the housekeeping staff. You know, that's really my background. Is I've covered quite an expansive array of different institutional owners to commercial owners to residential owners. But at the end of the day, it's really serving who the end user is. It's who is within these buildings, you know, that I tend to focus on and service.
So Carlos, just to a layman, maybe somebody who doesn't, you know, they're not really familiar with is it safe to say you're the tip of the spear for the operations of a building, whether it's Bayside Marketplace where you work, the Seminole Casino, or a high-rise condo tower. You're the point person, and then from there, all the orders are sent down and the work gets done. And you're also the one who basically takes the backlash if there's some sort of criticism. Am I getting that right?
Yes, you're correct. So this position here is, you know, whether it's called the chief engineer, maintenance supervisor, operations director, you're really responsible for the inner workings of the facility. You know, we don't really get into the rent collection aspect of it or the leasing. We support those departments. But at the end of the day, you know, once you're within one of these facilities, whether you're an employee working in one of the office buildings or you're a resident or a hotel guest, my position is the one that's going to assure that you not only have a comfortable stay, but also a safe environment to either work in or live in. So yeah, I guess I would be the tip of the spear.
You're the tip of the spear, and then typically you're dealing with like the CEO or the president, I would assume, or how does this sort of structure work? Just so again, people who aren't familiar with the game, so they kind of understand.
Yes,
you know, the flow chart, the vertical integration.
You know, so in a hotel, you report to a general manager. In a residential tower, there's a property manager. And so again, the responsibilities of the person that this position reports to, it changes on what the facility is. So if you're at a shopping center, the person I would be reporting to would be the general manager, and their main focus would basically be leasing and tenant retention. As opposed to a hotel, the GM is there more because there's so many different departments. You know, you have food and beverage, you have the engineering department, you have banquets. So the GM at a hotel is really trying to keep all those departments kind of like glued together. So it really depends. Again, you know, at the University of Miami, I reported to the director of the physical plant, you know, but at the end of the day, it's really a burnt out light bulb. I always say is a burnt out light bulb. No matter where it's at, you know, you have to get a ladder, go up the ladder, take out the old bulb and put in the new bulb. And, you know, whether that is in a hotel or a residential tower, it doesn't really matter. The idea is to change the light bulb, you know, and for the right one.
And now, Carlos, you made reference to the fact you were a firefighter. and now you do this. What's the common denominators? Basically trying to make sure that people are safe and the surroundings are comfortable and there's no issues, or what exactly is the connection? And how did you get into this industry? Well, like when you were a kid, you're like, some people want to be an astronaut, some want to be president, they want to be a baseball player. Did you think you wanted to be a chief building engineer?
No, it's amazing how in Florida, primarily, in the southern states, nobody really knows what a building engineer is, and it really comes from the union states like New York and Chicago, where the unions are really, the ones that are in charge of the workforce. It comes from being a stationary engineer from way back in the day. You had boilers that used to have to be manually, that pressure loose. So you'd have a guy sitting in a chair looking at all these gauges and opening up different valves so that the pressure wouldn't build. Up in New York, you have 6 months worth of boilers because of the winter. And a boiler could take out a whole city block if it, pressurizes and blows up. Now everything's automated. So, these systems that before used to have manual reliefs, they all have automatic reliefs, but you still need somebody to understand it, kind of like a pilot in an airplane where the autopilot could fly it, but you need him just in case that autopilot fails, right? So nobody really, I believe, grows up thinking that they're going to be a building engineer. Most people think police officer or firefighter, which is the route that I took. And I was a rural firefighter. When I moved back to Miami, I became an EMT and a paramedic. And Miami's one of those kinds of towns where you have like 95% rescue calls, and maybe every once in a while you'll have a fire. So I segued out of being a rescue paramedic because there wasn't a lot of fires. And that's kind of what I signed up for, was to be a rural firefighter. And if I were to move to California, I'd be in high demand because of all the forest fires over there now. What happened is a friend of mine that was an elevator technician started speaking to me about the building engineering field and how much he thought, and this was way back in like 1980, 1990, how he thought this was going to grow. And, you look at it 30 years later or now, all you see is a proliferation of buildings from Dade County all the way up to West Palm. I think we have like the third longest skyline, in the United States and South Florida. And every one of those buildings needs a building engineer. Unfortunately, we're not a union state. So where I was mentioning before, in union states, you need to be a 5-year apprentice to become what's called a stationary engineer. And I believe it's a stationary engineer 3, where you kind of really know your mettle because you've been for 5 years, you've been working alongside a union building engineer. So, the union states really have our head over heels over us, head above, because the guys that are actual building engineers, they actually are engineers. Similar to I was able to graduate from the University of Miami, and that's why I'm been successful in what I've been doing, is because I'm a true building engineer. And so the life science background, the fire science background, every building has a fire alarm. They all have fire pumps. They have generators. And, one of the biggest components is your life safety. And if you're living within a new 50 to 70 story high rise and you're way up there, like in a helicopter level of sleep, which, if you're 50 stories up in the air at 12-foot decks, you're up there, you're almost at 600-700 feet up in the air where your bed is. And I always tell
you can see the Bahamas. You'd be able to see the Bahamas from here on a clear day, right?
I always tell people, Peter, Bruce Willis isn't going to jump down like in Die Hard and save you in case of an emergency. What's going to save you is your fire sprinklers, right? Your fire alarm. And unfortunately, there's so many false alarms that people tend to not pay attention to the alarms. But the fire sprinklers, those are the ones that are your primary life safety measure, correct? So that's where being a firefighter goes hand in hand, because my background, I'm so keen when I come into a building, the first thing I look at is life safety. I'm not really worried about how pretty the elevators are or the marble. I'm going in and I'm looking at the life safety and making sure that the fire alarm is where it needs to be, which is normal, that your generator has fuel, that, everything is communicating correctly, and that the building at least has quarterly fire drills. You'd be
Carlos, if I can interrupt you here. So let me ask you. I just recently did some reports about Florida condo laws, what I'm going to call it. It's basically anything related to condos and high-rise living, related to building code, whatever the case may be. So you as a chief building engineer, and I'm relating this to the Florida condo law. Like in the condo laws now, like a property manager as well as a member of board of directors, they can actually be charged criminally. Misdemeanors and/or as high as a third-degree felony. What kind of exposure does a chief building engineer face? Is it comparable? Like if something goes sideways, if somebody dereliction of duty or something like that, can they actually be charged criminally, or is it just civil?
No, you can be charged criminally. And I equate it to, the captain of a ship. He has to go down with the ship. I remember I don't know if you remember that Italian cruise liner, and the captain and the guys they were the first ones on shore as the thing listed, right? Like 3 miles off the coastline, and they all got arrested, right? And so
it was a cruise ship. It was coming too close to shore. Supposedly there's some sort of tactic where the captain wanted to salute people on the island, ran aground, tipped aside. And what I remember from it is the New York Post ran a headline calling it the chicken of the sea, and they ran the captain's photo on the front page. But ultimately, he was arrested and charged for doing that. So you're saying a building engineer faces the same type of potential risk if in fact they do something similar?
Yes. So basically, the engineer is responsible for the life safety component of the building, correct?
Got
and
it.
so with that, you also work with the risk insurers, correct? So that's where, going back, I feel that my background as a firefighter and then my training as an engineer, they kind of go hand in hand, because if I'm going to get kudos or if I'm going to get arrested, it's going to be because of life safety.
Got it. So Carlos, we're doing a series of podcasts. We're calling them Special Report 2025 Florida Condo Association Financial Cliff. And the idea behind it is in June of 2021, we had a tower, if you will, that collapsed on the Barrier Island, Miami-Dade County, in a place called Surfside. The tower was called Champlain Tower South. It collapsed and made not only local, national, and international headlines, but ultimately close to 100 people died. It was actually 98. There's about $1 billion in settlement money paid out to the families. And the federal government's involved with the investigation, trying to figure out how the hell does a condo, a luxury condo, if you will, located on the ocean, overlooking the Atlantic. It's got all the, the bells and whistles. How does it collapse? And more importantly, how do we stop it from sort of happening again? So what happened is the state of Florida has taken a number of steps, tried to ensure that it doesn't happen again. I would argue a lot of it's being led by the insurance industry, which was paying out a lot of that $1 billion. And now we have all these new rules and that are going into place. They kick in primarily in January of 2025. And they're related to 2 studies. And let's focus just on the first study. It's called the Structural Integrity Reserve Study, or a SIRS. Anybody looking to buy a condo, you own a condo, you're going to buy a condo, you're thinking about condos, you need to know what a SIRS is, Structural Integrity Reserve Study. And then we have another, and that one's done every 10 years. And then we have another one called a milestone study. And I would call it like the little study and the big study. The little study sort of gives you a roadmap going forward for 10 years. And more importantly, you got to fund it. Where before you could simply defer the cost of what the experts would tell them was wrong with it. And then the milestone study, that's the big study. That's the one that says, is this thing likely to fall down in the foreseeable future? And that occurs at 25 years if you're within 3 miles of the coastline, and 30 years if you're more than 3 miles of the coastline. So all of these changes are sort of kicking in right now. People are getting upset because their condo fees are going up tremendously because money has to be set aside to make sure that we don't have another Surfside, if you will. and everybody wants to talk about structural integrity and want to talk about all that stuff. So I want you to sort of give your perspective, but if you could start off by telling me what was your immediate reaction that you remember when you heard about Surfside and the disaster, the tragedy, and the collapse of the tower where nearly 100 people died?
You know, from a human point of view, I felt horrible for the people that were affected and their families. From a firefighter and a rescue point of view, I knew it was going to be a daunting task for the guys and the women that were going to be tasked with going out there and looking for any survivors, get alone what they found, you know, in the people that didn't survive, you know. So my mind was there. And then as I started reading some of the historical things that have been reported about the building, I always say this, and you know, it kind of sounds crazy, but I don't believe so. A building isn't a live structure; it's alive, right? Not only does it hold a bunch of human beings within it, which in and of itself, you know, they give off electrical currency, which makes anything feel alive. But the building itself, you know, that building was showing puddles of water. I almost say it's like a human showing tears. It was moaning and groaning, kind of like a person that has bad knees when they get up, right? That you like to moan and groan. So the building in and of itself becoming an alive, you know, it takes on a life form of itself. And they kind of talk back to you, you know. And so when a structural engineer or building engineer or property manager or even a resident goes through, you know, where I'm at now, people are telling me, hey, there's 7 elevators, and people know if one of the elevators is a little shaky because they use it every day, right? I may not use that elevator every day and it might be fine for me, right? But the people at the tower, they were seeing these cracks and they were hearing the moaning and the groaning. And the building itself was almost like talking, like saying, help me. I bet you if you went back, you know, and it sounds eerie, and I don't mean to, you know, be comical about it, but the building itself was saying, help me to help you so I don't keel over, right? And because it really was. And I've read so many reports of all the different strange noises that people were saying that they were hearing, and not only the cracks that they were visually seeing, and then the water that they would see. So in and of itself, when I read the reports, I kind of said, wow, this building was talking. It was talking a language and nobody wanted to really hear, or they were ignoring what was being said, right, by the building itself. And that's kind of why I formed CY Consulting, because I realized in the reports that I read that, you know, the attorneys were advising something to the board. The property management company was advising something to the board. The board was getting what they wanted to hear, which was like, let's get a 12-month extension. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, they asked for like 4 or 5 extensions. And then during the 4th or 5th year is when it collapsed. And I believe one of the things that the legislature did away with was it did away with asking for extensions.
So Carlos, you know, you just opened my eyes. I feel enlightened, and I think the audience is going to be enlightened too. But what we were saying, you're saying puddling at the Champlain Tower itself, from what you read, it was happening. It's like a building crying. It's like a living object. So let's stick with that metaphor. If I go to the doctor and I don't have insurance, I'm at the hospital and I don't have insurance, there's some sort of creed that requires the doctor to care for me, even if I can't pay for it. Is there something similar in your industry where in a situation like this, when you see something that is scaring you or making you think it could be life threatening, are you required to have to take actions to immediately try to save the building? Because I would imagine if that was required, we probably never would have saw something like Surfside happen. And I'm not asking you to comment on Surfside because you weren't involved with that building in any way that I'm aware of. But just generally speaking, what is your responsibility to deal with that sick patient based on the metaphor that you were describing?
This is the first 25 minutes of a 140-minute special report podcast examining the repercussions of Florida's 2025 Condo Association Financial Cliff. It was brought to you by the Miami Condo Market Investing Club trademark. To listen to the remainder of the discussion, you will have to join the club at peterzalewski.substack.com. The objective of the club is to build a community to share real-time, actionable information on the latest real estate trends and opportunities in the Tri-County South Florida region of Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. The club is ideally suited for do-it-yourself DIY condo buyers who can rely on our latest statistics, expert opinions, and access to consulting services. Additionally, we encourage you to listen or view our podcast wherever you get podcasts. The podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, and/or YouTube. As a reminder, we are always available for consulting, expert witness work, and buy-side brokerage services, just as we have been since 2006. For South Florida condo resale information, please call 305-865-5859 or visit condovulturesrealty.com.